Bernstein,
I'm here.
Bertrand,
Here.
Rayford,
Here.
Scott.
Here, could we stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morgan Haskell.
There's Morgan.
She wasn't gonna do
We missed you last Monday.
No, we had a dog issue at my house, so we live in Sergeant Bluff, so, we don't have animal control.
Dog issues always override.
And I couldn't tell the police department, sorry, I have to go accept the confirmation in Sioux City.
All right, whereas the mental health is essential to everyone's overall physical health and emotional well-being, and surroundings can impact if, how, and when a person's needs are met, which in turn affects mental health. Mental illness will strike 1 in 5 adults and about 2 in 10 children live with a serious mental or emotional disorder, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, or economic status. Whereas people who have mental illness can recover and lead full, productive lives with the help of the Mental Health Roundtable, which consists of various agencies working together to destigmatize mental health in the Siouxland area. Whereas stigma continues to be the single most significant barrier to people getting the help they need. And whereas access to early diagnosis, crisis intervention, appropriate treatment, and support, including integrated treatment, is critical to the well-being of our families, communities, schools, and businesses, and greater public awareness about mental illness can change negative attitudes and behaviors towards people with mental illness. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Sioux City, and urge the citizens of Sioux City to recommit our community to increasing awareness, understanding of mental illness, and the need for appropriate and accessible service for all people with mental illness. I'd like to present this to you and say a few words if you would.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for doing it this year. I think this is the 3rd year that I've accepted this proclamation, so thank you very much. The more we talk about mental health, the more people know that it's okay to get help. So thank you for all that you're doing. And I just encourage council members, everybody here today, to wear green on Thursday, May 14th. We want to paint Siouxland green to show our support, to let the community know that we stand by them and we want them to get help. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Morgan.
The consent agenda today is 2 through 11B, and you can consider these items to pass unanimously unless a separate roll call vote is requested by a council member. Anyone wishing to speak on the agenda may come up to the podium at the time the item is being discussed. Anybody wanting to speak on an item not on the agenda should come up under citizen concerns. All speakers shall state their name for the record and then provide their statement. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
2 is a reading of the City Council minutes of May 4th, 2026.
Just one comment. I don't have any modifications or amendments, but I did want to note on the item related to the food trucks in the minutes, I just want to make sure that we continue, Mike, that dialogue about identifying a permanent location. Enough people have mentioned that. I don't think that the downtown businesses or the restaurants are opposed. I think they like the ancillary nature of it. So let's just make sure we continue that dialogue. Yep. Thank you.
3 is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in Morningside area for the Morningside Day Carnival Parade and staging. 4 is a resolution accepting a donation from the Sioux City Parks and Recreation Foundation for the Big Sioux Pedestrian Bridge Crossing Phase 2 project.
Is that foundation separate from the city? The foundation's
Yes.
completely separate?
It is.
And their board members are completely separate?
Yeah, Matt can speak to it, but they are, yes.
I remember when it was set up.
Matt Salvatore, Parks and Recreation Director. Yeah, completely different 501c3 board. There's 5 members, and they meet quarterly.
Yeah. Is that a board? And so the council does not have a representation on that board? You don't think it needs to have a representative?
Not a separate organization. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Matt.
you.
3 is a resolution approving and accepting a purchase agreement with GP Real Estate SC for 3 permanent easements and 3 temporary easements located at 3516 and 38 Singing Hills Boulevard and an unaddressed parcel north of Donner Avenue. 6 is an actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with Black and Veatch Corporation for the PFAS mitigation project. B is a resolution granting a permit to Metro FiberNet to own, operate, and maintain underground fiber adjacent to 1816 Nebraska Street. I thought they got bought out by T-Mobile, because I ordered that, and I get a bill from T-Mobile.
They did, yeah.
Like, the entities are related or part of the main
Okay.
entity. I looked it up the other day, and Metro FiberNet is a portion of the new entity name.
Okay. C is a resolution approving an amendment number 1 to the consulting services agreement with DGR Engineering for the Parkview Boulevard Water Main Replacement Project, Glendale Boulevard to Martha Street.
Is Tom here? Tom? Just the only question I've got, I have no opposition to amending the contract, but when you look at the original contract and then you increase it by almost an equivalent amount, does it not trigger, Mike or Tom, a thought that maybe we should be rebidding that second contract, the amendment? I get that there's some history in terms of the work that's been done, but this is a pretty significant amendment.
Gordon Fair, city engineer. Yes, it is significant, but it is in line with the amount that we would normally get for a lot of consultants for design and for construction admin and inspection. That's what we're getting.
26% though, isn't it?
The second half is the construction admin and inspection, which we didn't have at the beginning of the project like we normally do.
26% though, right?
Maybe more than, it's
26% for a water main only project is excessive on a good day, but anyway.
thanks.
Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I know, I agree, Mayor. I read through the materials, and again, I have no opposition to DGR. They do very good work. They've been, with my first terms, they're back 25 years later, but I just look at the amount of the original contract. You moved the amendment to 485. That's just a pretty significant adjustment, and so I wonder how when you bid the original contract, what you take into account, certain services, Gordon, that you just described, or if you anticipate that there's likely going to be an amendment number 1 or 7, and how we take that into account with other bidders.
Well, we don't take bids for.
I understand that, but it sounds to me like you anticipated either that there could be a larger scope or additional work that would be addressed in an amendment, right?
Originally, we didn't plan on having them do any of the construction management, but after the review of the workload and everything, we decided that it would be best if we did have them doing it.
Who did you think was going to do it?
It would be done in-house,
Well,
but with the influx of other projects, we just didn't have the manpower.
that happens on almost every project, so I don't know why we would have, I don't know why you wouldn't, back to what he's saying, at least ask what it will be if you do it, and then you can decide if you've got the workload. But you can't name 10 projects in the last year that the outside consultant that did it didn't end up doing the construction work. I mean, come on, that's how it works around here. But we don't bid it that way. And I know we don't bid it, but anything else?
No. Thanks, guys.
D is a resolution awarding and approving a contract to Sioux City Engineering for the Parkview Boulevard Water Main Replacement Project, Glendale to Martha Street. E is a resolution awarding and approving a contract to Sioux City Engineering for the Gordon Drive Water Main and Sanitary Sewer Early Relocation Package Project. F is a resolution awarding and approving a contract to I&A Construction for the Sidewalk Ramp Project. 7 are actions relating to payments. A is a resolution accepting the work and authorizing the payment to K2 Real Estate Development for the Big Sioux River Pedestrian Crossing Phase 2 project. B is a resolution accepting the work and authorizing the payment to Steve Harris Construction for the undersized water main replacement project. 8 is purchasing. A is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Hawkins for sulfuric acid for the water treatment plant. B is a resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to purchase wastewater treatment plant property insurance from Mills, Shellhammer, Pitts and Associates.
Tom, just a quick question, sorry. So this is property insurance, this has nothing to do with the wastewater treatment rehab or owner's liability insurance or otherwise, just continuation of the property insurance that we've had in the past?
Tom Pingle, Public Works Director. That's correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
9 are applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine vapor product permits. 10 are applications for alcohol licenses, and 11 are boards, commission, and committee minutes. Anyone to be heard on any of those items?
Can I ask a question on, is there anybody here on the civil service items? The only question that I've got, and Mike, maybe you could help me follow up. If you look on the Civil Service Commission minutes, this would be page 144 of our materials, in their item 5 and 6, which are the EMS lead medic position that we recently approved. Their minutes don't reflect the dialogue that we had with Chief Collins, and I just wonder if they are fully apprised of the scope of the issues.
Well, that came earlier. This was just for the testing.
But they're not, this is the April 7th minutes, and they're not reflecting any of the dialogue about how we were making those adjustments, right? And I just wonder if they need to be part of that dialogue.
I can follow.
Just if you'd follow
With
up.
Janelle, yeah.
That'd be great, thank you. And were you in those, you were on civil service at that time?
Well, I mean, I'm the liaison.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, I want to go back to your engineering question. So about 2 months ago, we started talking about this on what's should be in-house, not in-house. This isn't a shot at DGR ain't even either, but I guess my question is I don't know anybody on my end that uses DGR outside of the public sector just because they're so overpriced. So I'm just kind of curious, is how are we awarding between them and other firms? Like, how are we doing that, Tom?
Well, you used to be able to actually ask for prices, but
That's
now
that's where I was 2 months ago.
State of
That's why I
Iowa
said
has
that should be a hard
determined
fix.
how
We talked about this 2 months ago, and it's like, well, they've always done it. So that was the response I got then.
What was your question?
The question is that what, are we shopping this at all? Or are we just going with who's always done the work because they understand the work?
No, we do shop.
How do you shop it?
We do an RFQ for a water main project in this situation, and we had actually three applicants, and we had 3 projects, so we gave 1 to each, and all of the prices were in line.
So how do we have a project that's in line, but we don't have fixed costs going into it? I mean, I'm kind of with Mayor and Craig on this one. I mean, again, I feel like I'm talking at the mirror, but it's, how do we not have a number at the beginning? And all these projects seem like at the end they're
State won't
floating.
let you.
What do you mean?
State won't let you.
On the engineering side of it at the end?
No, because the engineers are so professional that you can't ask their fee until you decide who it is. They changed the state law a while back. We used to be able to do it.
So you can't get it on, even on the scope work on the,
Once you tell them who it is, then you have to negotiate the price,
Yes,
because
we negotiate the price with the consultant, and if we find that their price is too much, we then can go to the second one, but we cannot go back to the first if the second one's is higher.
And so what you're saying, Gordon, is when you were looking at 3 different projects and you awarded them to 3 different firms, you were comfortable that the pricing was consistent amongst the 3?
Yes.
And that's why you divided it? Mainly, did they not have the person power to support more projects, or you felt the fairest thing to do was divided amongst the 3?
In this situation, yes.
so
I was gonna say-
what's the in-house cost? I mean, you were going to do this in-house. What did you budget for in-house?
We couldn't do it in-house. Oh, I'm sorry, for the design, yes, we couldn't do it in-house. But for the inspection, I didn't have that, I don't have that cost in front of me.
who's inspecting 8th Street?
That's in-house.
I think I asked those questions.
Because we have several of these larger projects like that going on, we didn't have the manpower for this project. So then we decided to go out.
So if you're us, what questions should we be asking you? To get more consistent, get less cost?
I was going to say, and then coming back with the amendment is probably the bigger issue.
Well, I would ask, the amendment What were you asking about that?
Well, just going back to, then why does it change so much, after we assume that the numbers are what they should be from the start?
To answer Mr. Bertrand's question, we should have bid out the construction, design, and the construction.
Well, you should at least get a price up front. You should at least get a price up front so you know what it is, because
That we could do.
there's no negotiating once you've already given them the contract. They all know that they're going to get the inspection. You're not going to have DGR inspect McClure's engineering plans. It's never going to happen. Shouldn't either, by the way.
And we typically don't do that. We
You're
don't
right,
have
Tom.
someone else inspect.
Tom, that's where I was going with this. You're right. It should all been up front. I'm just thinking, it's just like you see, like, I get the frustration. We seen it when I was sitting out there looking at it. It's like these engineering fees that come in late and hard, and it's kind of like you're stuck at this point. You're there. And I'm just saying, you guys, what's the process? Educate us. How do we get in front of this?
So in this situation, I looked at our workload for the year, was planning on having that done in-house. Things changed. We had some other projects come up. Didn't have the time for it, manpower. I had another inspector. I could do that, but I don't. So in this situation, I had to make the change, and when you add it up, even if I'd bid it out all at once, it'd still be right around the same number.
Tom, moving forward, is there a way forward for this? I mean, is there something when we kick the nest, what's the solution?
I think, to the mayor's point, would be to get that number, take that number back home, see if we could do that for a lower cost in-house. If not, we should move forward with them.
But then does it speak to the manpower that, if you can do it for the lower cost, but then if you don't have the people to do it?
Right, and also account for manpower and what projects we have going on during the estimated time of construction.
The solution is to have the state legislators allow us to bid those again, but I know Gordon and you engineers don't want to hear that, but anyway.
Thank you.
For the record, I'm not an engineer.
Yeah, you're right. See attorneys out in the audience, even they got to give you a price up front normally about what they're going to charge you. You don't give them a scope of work and say, well, now let me know what the fee's going to be. I think they go to school as much or longer than.
We used to say that in the field. That was a kiss before the, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Good discussion. Come on, Bob, find a solution.
4-0. Recommendations in planning and zoning, 12 is a resolution accepting and approving the final plat of a minor subdivision plat of Hanson Dunn Acres addition. Petitioners Al Fagan on behalf of Madonna Hanson. The P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Anyone to be heard?
So the only question you all really had on this one was whether there was going to be a second driveway. Is the plat limitation, is that limitation in the plat, or how do they manage that to make sure that?
Wait, Schultz planning, they're not planning to add another driveway.
They're not planning to, but what if in 3.5 years they decide they need one?
The DOT wouldn't allow it.
So the DOT could control that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good to see you here today.
It's good to be seen. I'll be here next week, too.
It'd been nice that the 900 acres you're taking part in down south could have at least been talked about with the city of Sergeant Bluff and Sioux City, but we appreciate your investment in the
I
area.
appreciate you bringing that up, Mayor.
I could not let that go.
Wouldn't expect you to.
Did we move that?
It's been moved?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
If I don't fight for my city, who will? Tell Catherine Coonert when you see her, okay? Passes 4-0. 13 is a resolution accepting and approving the final plat of residents at Elk Creek Commissioner Scott Mann, on behalf of Egghead Properties, p and Z recommends denial. I'll move that.
Second.
So denial means we vote no if we want to stay with the p and Z.
Correct.
Yes, yes, and yes, and we pass it through? Is that what it works?
We can override P and Z, but as I understand it, there was a denial on a 2-to-3 vote, correct?
That's correct.
But there was some additional information that came because the substantive issue was the size of the lot, and in particular, the average of size with
average,
regard to
yeah.
the 3 units.
Yeah, it was the lot line average over
Right.
the entirety of the lot. That was the issue.
So all that's in front of us is either approving or denying based upon that element, correct?
That's correct.
But they sent a revised plan last week that was inserted in the report. That meets the requirement now.
So the site plan would now be approved by planning and zoning?
Yep. If it-
Well, no, but I think there was an indication after the meeting that they indicated that they would otherwise approve it. That's why I'm going to move that we defer this, deflect it back to planning and zoning and let them review it and approve it, or deny it again.
There's other information too that's there though, what I would like to see us do as the new council is, this really is going to get hung up on the covenant issue. It's really, all we're doing today is say they can go. Because if we approve it today on the 2-to-3, they'll get the permit, but doesn't mean that they've cleared the covenant hurdle out there. That's the bigger issue that's out there on the garages, right? Am I right on that? So that's the hurdle. So I just could tell that I know if it was my development, I would be asking questions, so I did, and it does not meet covenants, but they're working with the developer within that. So what I would like to see the council do is approve the construction side of it, so when they work it out with the developer, which they're going to, that it's just ready to go, as long as we get, does that make sense, Sam?
It does, and some of those
I'm pretty
covenant
sensitive.
issues were brought to our attention during the P and Z hearing.
Yeah.
But it really was outside of the scope of what we were considering at the P and Z meeting, which was just limited to the conformance of the lot lines. And so I understand that they fixed that.
Yep, they fixed
Yeah.
that.
And
'Cause if we
so
defer it-
see that
if we
again,
defer it,
we
it
see
gets
that
kicked back
again, we'll
to
take a look
P&Z.
at it, but we're not looking at it from a covenant.
Yeah, that's their issue, that's the private sector. But I'm saying is those, if we kick it down the road on a deferral, they can't get in the dirt. They can't cut the deal with the developer, or they can't get going, is what, and the last thing that I want to see is, we run into a 3-week, we're sniffing June, we run into a 3 or 4 week delay based upon what I mean? I'd like to see it, they worked it out, let the developer work it out with the builder on the
Yeah.
garage situation. It's a 1-2-1, I think, or something like that, a 1-2-2 or something like that. Let them figure it out, and let's pass it, let them go, in my opinion.
I think that's your prerogative as a council.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Anyone else be heard?
May I please have your names for the record?
Oh, my name, Sam Wagner. I'm on the planning.
I'm Gabriel, planner.
Gabriel, what's your last name?
Ojo.
Hello, my name is Scott Mann. I'm with Egghead Properties, and I'm the contractor on the job. We do have a building permit ready to go, and we have an excavator there ready to start digging. We did go through the full process. We asked the developer, gave him plans a couple months ago to approve them. He said, go ahead. So I don't believe that there's any covenant and conditions that are not being currently met. And I was unaware at the previous Planning Commission meeting about the size of the lot, that we were non-conforming on one of the units. After that meeting, I read the code, talked to DGR, and we came up with a simple solution, and now we meet all requirements. And we're ready to start going.
Anyone else?
Got a tie.
Joel Voss, 5530 Lorraine Avenue, for the next door neighbors, Henry and Linda Metz. I think there's still an issue with compliance. That is, when you look at subdividing lots like this, what they're doing is called lot averaging. Lot averaging has 2 requirements. One is that the minimum width of the lot can't be less than 90% of what the code requires. But there's also an area requirement that the area of the lot can also not be less than 90% of the required area. I think that they hit the lot width. What they did is an unusual sized lot, I guess. It's wider up front, and then the rest of the way it's kind of skinny. And that allows them to hit the 36 feet width that's required at the point where you measure it, but they are still not at 90% of the required lot area. And so I think it needs to be sent back to planning and zoning to take a look at that, because I don't think it's in compliance when you look at all of the code requirements.
Did it hit it?
Yeah, I haven't seen the plat, so I haven't actually seen what it is that they're describing. So we'll just go with the guidance from the council, and whether you kick it back to P&Z, we'll take a look at it in due course, or whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, but if you look at the code, section 25.03.030.4, that's a lot averaging. It allows you to reduce it by 10%, and that's the 36 feet that they're supposed to meet. And with the revised plan, they meet that requirement now. It's not supposed to be 90%. It reduces it by 10%, and if you do the calculation per the new revised plan, they meet that requirement.
So what they're doing right now meets the code?
It meets the code, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some wiggle room built into the code. And one of the reasons that we denied it at the P&Z meeting is that the way the lot lines were laid out in that original plat, they were way below. So if they've come back and kind of got it within the threshold of that wiggle room, then.
But it was a close vote.
Yeah, it was a 2-3 vote.
Yeah.
I mean,
Was this about design more or setbacks? Was it about design or setbacks?
I think the P&Z issue was the setbacks and the size of the lot, but there are questions about the design and the scope of the triplex, correct?
Not so much with P&Z.
No, but there are issues concerning the size and scope of the
It was the lot,
property
yeah.
and the improvement.
Yeah, it was
Right.
the averaging. It was
Right.
the averaging, and just how far off they were on the averaging that caused some consternation on the P&Z.
Where's the developer on this? Is he okay with this? Is Paul okay with this?
I can't speak for him. I can just
You
say
talk-
that
Yeah, I mean, is he good at the design? I mean, it's his, I mean,
I gave him the design 2 months ago. He said, go ahead, go through city. It looks good. But that's not a written approval of anything, so and from everything that I've seen, we are in compliance with lot width and total lot size, everything, so.
here, okay, I didn't see him.
Paul Koskovich, Elk Creek. We have not completed our review from Elk Creek's standpoint, as there's bigger issues here that are at stake. Once the lot line issues are resolved, if they are resolved, we'll complete our full review at that point and determine if the triplex falls within our guidelines or not. This plan was provided to me, I don't know, I looked at it, I think, a month and a half ago. Just glancing over it, it looked okay. After further review, I don't think it quite meets our covenants out there in Elk Creek. But like I said, I've not dived into it completely until this issue is resolved, if it is resolved. So there's no, as I told Scott last week, there's no dirt to be moved until this is resolved. And if this is resolved, then it would have to go through our covenants in Elk Creek first. And if that's satisfied, then he could dig. Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. I think in light of the multitude of issues, I'd like to move that we send it back to P&Z to deal with both the P&Z issues. Also give the developer, the builder, and the property owners in the adjacent properties an opportunity to visit as well, in the event that it affects the covenants.
But all that can be done in the private sector though, too, just FYI. That could all be done with permit in hand. I mean, see where I'm going with that?
Sort of.
I mean, that's all going to get worked out between him and him, between the covenants. I'm just saying is that, why do we want, what's the time frame going to cost? I don't know him from Adam. I'm just saying, what's the time frame going to cost him on this? 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
How long does it take to get back to P&Z?
So maybe it can get on the on the 26th of May. We have a hearing on 26th, so we can get it back to them.
So you're looking at first week of June, second week of June?
The 26th, you're talking about
26th, yeah, May.
the P and Z.
That's the next
on
P and Z
26th.
on the 26th.
He's saying it would,
Got to come back here then.
and then after that, it would come
So
back.
that would take another 2 weeks for it to get back to you. Yeah.
Say that again, Mike.
It'd be the 8th.
The 8th, yep.
I would like to just point out that the lot size, lot width, everything meets requirements. The covenants and conditions, I've read them. I don't believe we're in any violation of that, but that's a private matter. The issue before you here today is the approval of the plat, and do I meet the requirements? And I do meet the requirements. So I haven't heard any reason why it would be not denied.
So if your developer comes at you and says, hey, we want to tweak this, your garage sizes or something like that, are you rigid at this point, or are you?
Absolutely, we'll make whatever modifications.
That's the big thing. I mean, that's
yeah.
the concern of the neighbors, I'm sure, which is
This
they want
issue-
aesthetically and everything else, they want it to match up with the great
Sure.
development out there, a high-end development.
And I've offered that we will make whatever modifications needed to make everybody happy. We just want to build the triplex and build some more in the same development, so.
I don't care, it's up to you guys. I know so yeses, you want to pass it, and no's send it back.
We have a couple different things on the floor. It's been moved and seconded, and then Councilman Berenstain had indicated he would move to send it back for reconsideration. So,
And I've always said that when somebody makes a motion, we should vote, even if we're for or against it, we should at least allow that to happen, so I'll second the motion.
the motion to send it
Just
back.
send it back
for
to
planning.
P and Z. So does the other motion have to be withdrawn first, Nicole?
Yes. It was made by the mayor and seconded by Councilman Rayford.
That was to just flat send it, what is that one for?
That was to
was the
move the
original.
We
denial.
withdraw, and then after voting on this, it may come back.
Yep.
Withdraw my motion. Will you withdraw your second?
So the vote on the floor would be to send it back to planning and zoning for reconsideration. Motion made by Berenstain, seconded by Scott.
Any further discussion then, I guess? Any other comments?
Call the roll?
You can do it electronically.
Oh. So it will go back to P and Z. Next is a hearing and ordinance vacating a portion of Sacagawea Park on the property known as 1904 South Ruston Street. The petitioners Roger and Jacqueline Edwards. P and Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Anyone to be heard? Mr. Sam Wagner, do you have anything to the order?
Just to note that it was a unanimous vote.
Well, that's good. We like those. Anyone else?
You're famous, Sam, see? We don't even feel like we need to.
But in all fairness, man, I've sat in a few of your P and Zs. You guys got a functional P and Z right now. I've seen the last couple of years where they aren't real functional. You guys got a really good P and Z right now.
Well, just remember who your new guy is.
I know who it is.
Yeah.
Well, and to Rick's point, the breadth of knowledge of P and Z is outstanding. It really is.
They're functional.
When we have questions about the scope of what they're reviewing, and oftentimes the legal elements, they're very clear.
I appreciate that, and I'll share it with the commission.
Public hearing's now closed. Passes 4-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
Nope.
I'll move that.
Second.
Bertrand,
Aye.
Rayford,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Berenstain.
Aye. Second.
Rayford,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Berenstain.
Aye.
Bertrand.
Aye.
15 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specs for the undersized water main replacement project. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 4-0. 16 is a hearing and resolution amending the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed.
Either Sarah or Teresa, could we just get a 3-minute summary of why it's necessary? We understand, but for the public's awareness, could you just give a quick summary of why we're being asked to amend the budget for the fiscal year?
Sarah Swearingen, Budget Manager. You'll see that the compilation of all of the changes here, a lot of these changes include technical changes. We're transferring from one project to another. We need to add a budget to that project. The state requires all budget adds be compiled and submitted to them before May 31st of each year. So this will come annually.
Thanks, Sarah.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 17 is an ordinance amending Chapter 13.08 sanitary sewer rates of the municipal code to increase the rates of outside municipalities and outside improvement districts by 27.4% effective November 1st, 2026. First consideration was approved on April 27th. Second consideration was approved May 4th. I'll move third reading.
Second. I'll second third.
Passes 4-0.
You know, Mr. Mayor, on that rate increase, that's a win. Just want to kind of put in the public record, that is a win for Sioux City taxpayers. I also think it's a great reflection on this council that we are the Sioux City Council, not a tri-state council, that we're looking out for our taxpayers first. And Tom, when's the next time we're eligible to raise those rates again?
The contract would state that, Tom Pingle, Public Works Director, that we could do that again in 6 months.
Thank you.
Just because of the 6-month notice?
That's correct.
That's right. There's nothing else like an annual. It can't be once a year, a biannual, or every 5 years. That's the way it's written. So we basically put a little over $1 million in our coffers above that helps with construction and everything else. Not one squeak, which means that it's not hitting anybody's pocketbooks or anybody's squealing. And I think we should continue to look at things like this and other things that we receive payments from other communities for our services. So great job on all of this, and the speed of it I thought was excellent. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
18 is an ordinance repealing ordinance 2026 and 4-64, amending Chapter 12.30 Stormwater Program in the Municipal Code to modify the stormwater collection fees. I'll move first reading.
Second.
Passes 4-0. I would wait personally and give people a chance to comment, at least on second reading. So, Sioux Gateway Airport Master Plan update.
I've invited RSNH to present on the master plan. This is about a 2-year project that the FAA airport is required to do to update on at least a 20-year cycle for funding purposes. Want to thank the Guard Unit and the FAA, our board, our public input process. We go through at least 2 public meetings and just goes over a 20-year planning horizon for our needs in the immediate, midterm, and long term, and kind of separates the military and civilian uses for us as an airport out there.
So does the master plan, and we've all reviewed it, but how does it take into account either the anticipated or what we understand to be the 185th growth cycle?
They're going to talk about that right now.
Thank you. I knew you were going to. I just wanted to.
I think we have a, do I have a PDF? Just take the mouse and click here. And then right here does my things. Great. So thank you very much. My name is Mike Becker. I'm a senior aviation planner for RSNH, and we're going to talk a little bit about the master plan. I didn't do it right. So I'm not going to see it up there. I will, okay. All right, I got it figured out. We're all set now. So first thing I want to do is make sure we all level set on what an airport master plan is. And it's a comprehensive plan. It looks at the entire airport facility, and it really describes short, medium, and long-term development needs for an airport. The FAA requires it to make sure that the projects that are listed on the airport layout plan are eligible and justified, and it really helps the airport, the city, the community understand where they are today and where they need to go in the future from a facility standpoint. So really, the general element that needed to get really analyzed and planned here was the Nexus program, what's going to happen with the Air National Guard, and how the airport facility is going to kind of improve and work through those. The graphic you see on the screen is really the facility improvements that are going to happen over the short term during the project, starting with some runway extensions, working on some taxiway alignments and some hold positions for different aircraft, and then of course an apron expansion. That graphic really represents the big program for the Nexus that's going to occur. This master plan started off to really understand what was going to be needed and what needed to be justified to be able to use AIP money and DOD funding to make this project occur. So the other thing before I go on, the other thing that's really important to note is the last airport master plan was about 20 years old. So it was needed and it was time, and then there was this large project.
So does the FAA only require it every 20 years?
The FAA requires that an airport have a master plan. The federal planning horizon is only 20 years, but depending on how much improvement and change happens in a community, a master plan could be done every 7 years, every 15 years. It's really an independent perspective on the community to determine what it was needed. In this case, with the growth and head changes in the community and the master plan being 20 years old, it was really time to look at the facility, understand where the future was going to go and what improvements were needed. So during that process, we really involved the community. We had one virtual engagement room where anybody could come at any time, join. There's a website, there was a portal that you could go in and see some of the information and participate. We had that up and running for the 2 years of the planning assignment. We had 2 public involvement meetings, 3 advisory committees along the way to understand the different components that we were looking at. We published 5 different documents to allow people to review and understand what was going on as we moved through the planning process. And we had a lot more than 10 different people. We tried to boil that into 10 different partners within the community, in the broader community, to really engage and collaborate with to make sure that the airport facility was meeting the needs of the users and stakeholders. So the general planning process is kind of linear. You kind of start off by understanding what you have, what the futures might look like, and then look at all the facility requirements and understand when a facility might need to have improvements made to it to keep up with growing demand. Then you really look at different ways to solve that problem, so you don't just decide on the first one. You look at multiple different reasons and then evaluate which ones make the most sense from an assortment of different reasons: environmental, funding, operational. And then once you've kind of figured out the preferred solution, you figure out where's the money going to come from and how do we implement it and what stages and what phases should we move through that implementation process. And then the FAA requires us to put it in a drawing set. We call it the blueprint, so you really understand what facilities are going to be added to the airport, what changes are going to be made over the 20 years. And that's the document that the FAA reviews and approves, finalizes, and say, yeah, this is a great plan, go forth, move ahead.
I'm probably interrupting the question, so you can answer it later if you want, Mike, but I'm curious on, one of the struggles that we've had is identifying additional carriers, right? And I know that's a very competitive world, both the carriers, their financial security, finding pilots, et cetera. Does the master plan that you're putting together help our airport board and the city council to move forward with working with other air carriers to promote our community and identify what the physical structure for general aviation can look like?
It's a soft yes. The master plan is primarily looked at the facilities and understanding how the facilities can accommodate whatever type of aircraft, passengers, and vehicles. The master planning process itself doesn't do the negotiating and collaboration with the airlines, but it does look at, okay, is the airfield in a sufficient condition that the airlines or corporate jet activity would operate and be comfortable in it? Is the passenger terminal accommodating the needs of the passengers and the airlines? And is the parking facilities accommodate that? So that's where the soft yes comes in, but not directly negotiating with airlines.
And I didn't anticipate that latter part. I was just curious whether, as we move forward with the airport board, understanding that we're in an essential air service community, what kind of leverage this gives us to broaden our services, approach the airline, the carriers, and try and improve air service in Sioux City.
Yeah, I think, well, I'll try to touch on it with the graphic we have right here. This one you all see on the screen is kind of the forecasted employments. So you can kind of start off in 2018. You can see what happened in COVID. And the gray line is kind of how you see passenger employments occurred during the pandemic. The dashed line is what the FAA thought it would look like in, well, sorry, the FAA didn't have, the FAA saw the past just like we all did. So the historic numbers are exactly historic. And then as the FAA line moves out into the future, that's what the federal government was thinking your forecasted employments would look like. As part of our planning analysis, we looked at what would be the base case of growth and what would happen if additional air service came on, different routes to different locations, and what could that generally do to the airport facility? Can the runways handle it, taxiways, terminal buildings, parking lots? So we looked at both of those scenarios to make sure that the airport has a plan in place to be able to accommodate when that growth and that air service continues to continue to improve. The great news is you get three little dots kind of pointed out on the screen where we started 26,000 employments. So that's one set. If you add arrival and departure, that's the full passenger. So that's a 26 plus, that's 52,000 passengers that were occurring at the beginning of the planning. And now you're at 28,000 employments, so roughly 60,000 passengers in the last couple of years. So that Denver and Chicago service has really helped bring some of that life back on the commercial side. I think the airport improvements that we're going to talk about in a second with the runways and the taxiways and support facilities are going to make the facilities in a position to be able to accommodate that and then continuous working with the airlines themselves. We'll see what happens, but the trend is going in the right direction.
And a flight was added in January, so those aren't reflective of 25's numbers as well.
So when we look at the other aspect, not just the passengers, but aircraft operations, that was another concern in the planning study. It's like making sure we have enough aircraft operations to continue to use the airport, make the tower continue to operate and be a strong facility for this community. And you see with the adding of the flight school and the growth in the general aviation community, your operational forecast is also increasing. So we looked at the base and the high to make sure that we had plenty of facilities in plan that could be put in place if necessary as growth would occur. Did that somewhat answer your question, sir?
Yes, thank you.
So that kind of looks at what you have and then what the future might look like, and then we generate these type of graphics, and they're really kind of heat maps, really meant to show kind of the facility that might need some improvements during a planning period. And we really break 20 years up into 3 planning periods, PAL 1, 2, and 3, and we identified trigger points of operation or a certain particular event that might occur that says now's the time to begin planning, then to design, and then implement it so your facility is up and running and at a high level of service before it's needed. So you kind of see on the civilian side of this graphic, you see early on the aircraft rescue firefighting facility and the maintenance SRE are red. So those we indicated needed some improvements right away to help with growth and facility improvements. The ARF was of a line of sight issue with the air traffic control tower to get the Air National Guard facilities improved, and the maintenance SRE needed more space. As you look on the military side, no surprise to anybody here that the runway length and design standards were needed. That's what the primary objective of Nexus is. So we've identified that as the project that needs to happen right away. And again, on the ARF, that was a siting study, tower siting study that needed to be relocate the ARF's facility to improve line of sight for the air traffic control tower. So that's really a summary of 9 months of work, trying to figure out what facilities needed to be improved and where. And then we really get into understanding the funding of that. And I'm going to hand it over to Darren, and Darren's going to kind of walk you through a couple of slides on funding, what the next 5, 10, and 15 years of capital projects look like. Darren?
Right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Darren Christopher with RSNH. I'm a civil engineer and just want to touch base on funding just for a few minutes here. Maybe skim the top of some of the waves. It's about, over the next 20 years, it's about almost $700 million, $672 million program. But if we really break it down on the left-hand side, is we look at our funding partners, and the military is a large component of that. And of that $360 million, it really breaks down into 2 projects. There's the Nexus program, which is about $220 million program. That's reconstructing the runway, extending the runways, reconstructing the ramp at the 185th at the Air National Guard base. And then it's also another component of that is if they decide to remission with a larger airplane, it would also, one of the big components is building a double or 2 hangars or a double hangar, and that's about $140 million estimated today to build those 2 hangars. So it's about, that's where over half of the program is, about $360 million of that. The FAA being a large partner as well with entitlements and their funding. The state being the Iowa DOT, the Department of Aviation. Local money could be private investment. It could be this matching funds from the city, and then there's a private investment through hangar development as well. The next one just breaks it down into percentages of what the percentage of the program, so it kind of just 2 different ways to tell the same story. And the next slide, moving on, is this one's a little bit of an eye chart, but in the 0 to 5 years, the projects we're looking at is one, the Nexus program. You can see a lot of blue or a lot of improvements on the runway environment itself, runway 1331. It's also rehabilitating and reconstructing 2 of the general aviation ramps. On the left-hand side, it's just showing that there's room for hangar improvements if they're needed. Anywhere from additional T-hangars to corporate development. If that development's needed, there's a place showing that it could be constructed. It's also up by one of the projects here is a new entry. This is the Air National Guard's best fit to location right now is a new entry control point. Currently today, one of their projects after the Nexus would be a new entrance or gate to the facility, and to make sure they meet all their security requirements. Today, they need a new one. Let's just put it that way. The next one is 6 to 10 years, and the largest program here. We do show on the left-hand side more improvements for general aviation if needed. If those tenants needed some space, they came to Sioux City or were able to track them. And the biggest program here is like we show area locations for their Air National Guard. We show a double hangar option, so they could do a maintenance hangar and a fuel cell hangar adjacent to each other. We think there's some efficiencies sharing a wall, and those are the biggest components in the next 6 to 10 years. And the last one, 11 to 20 years, it's reconfiguring a few taxiways, more general aviation space. It does show additional development space adjacent to the paint facility, if that's military-only space or some commercial development. And the one that's a little bit hard to see is it does show about 20 years relocating the ARF station, right? The current location of the fire station or the ARF station at the airport. There's a little bit of a line of sight issue from air traffic control. Everybody operates safely there. There's a little bit extra communication, but when that building reaches the end of its useful life, we'll just move it to a different location when that that PAL or planning activity level comes to an end or is triggered. And we tried to keep it under 10 minutes. There's a couple QR codes up here. This is a documentation or a QR link to the airport's master plan website. There's also a QR code that'll take you to the virtual room as well. That shows all the documents from the master plan are all available for. The FAA did approve this master plan. We were asked to come and give an executive summary, try to keep it short, high points. The FAA approved this master plan back in probably March. Or end of February, early March, and so they signed off on it. And so this is a summary of all the collaboration that occurred over the last 24, 30 months or so. Questions? All right, thank you.
Quick question. So with the planning that you see for the first 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years, and the expansion and the growth of the 185th and what we're doing with the taxiways, the runways, et cetera, does that give us the capacity to be able to work with large I don't mean general aviation carriers, but warehousing type of relationships, the large planes that warehouse in distribution centers?
Sure, there's not a lot of airplanes that are in the fleet on the commercial side that couldn't land at the airport today. Again, with the Nexus program, with some of it's going to be marked for military use only for those to the 1,000-foot extension on the runway. They'll be signed if there's a civilian need. We can come back and revisit it with the FAA. The FAA has asked that is listed and marked as military use only. But there's not a lot of commercial airplanes throughout the entire fleet that couldn't land in Sioux City and take off in Sioux City. They periodically have 760. Last year they had a 767 charter come in, so you could handle almost all the. Depending if you're going to go international cargo, it's a different story, but you could fly domestically almost anywhere you want to out of Sioux City domestically with the way the current runway sits today. So.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Citizen concerns. Any citizen want to be heard, please come to the mic, state your name and or not your address, just your name, please. If you're coming, you got to get up here, because I'm going to go to the council concerns.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the airport new runway.
Name, please.
My name is Melvin Carter. The concern I have is what you need all this for, why the runway had to be so big now, and what the reason really is for this big old runway. You know, why, in a little bitty town, why would they want to put a big old runway in?
Because we're going to lose the Air National Guard unit if we don't, and we can't afford to lose that. It's 800 and some jobs in this community.
Right.
The current $220 million project is the 185th, and to the mayor's point, the 800 to 900 jobs that we would lose if the 185th left.
Right, I'm understanding that, but the 185th been using this airport for how long now?
They have to fly out with 70% capacity. They can't fly out with a full load. So they have to fly to like Wichita or Lincoln, refuel, and take off again, which in a national emergency doesn't bode very well. You need to get out off the ground and in the air, and they're not able to do that today.
The 185th, the units that they fly are tanker units, right?
Right.
They're to fly and fill up the fighter jets.
Right.
Right now, to the mayor's point, they're only able to fill to a capacity of about 50 to 60, maybe 70%, and they have to either land in Lincoln or elsewhere to get full capacity in their loads.
It's a win for Sioux City.
I ain't saying it ain't a win. I was just wondering why you need such a big runway and make all these different plans to the airport and all of this here. I'm just kind of figure out.
Good question. Very fair question.
You know, what is all this called for? What is it really good for? I understand it's good for National Guard, but how about the other? What else is it good for?
It's good for all of Sioux City, so.
Not really.
And keep in mind that this is
Because see,
coming
the
from.
thing is, we ain't gonna get no more states coming in here.
Well, we're gonna
Only
have to-
Chicago, Denver, maybe Minnesota.
Okay. All right.
You know, I can see if, you know, they gonna open it so we can get more business flights in here and stuff like that. But, you know, just to say it's for to refill the jet, You know, I can understand that too, but I really don't get it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Anyone else? Council concerns? Rick?
Briefly. Briefly this evening. First, I wanted to say thanks to the guys on the 18th Street Field Services, Mike and I and Brad, and then we toured that for our wrap-up tour after they cleaned it up. I highly encourage if you haven't driven by to drive by. They did a great job. A 20-year cleanup, opened up the space. They now took a full inventory of everything in there, kind of reevaluated what we need for needs versus wants moving forward. And I look at it not just as a housekeeping drill, but more as they know what they got to help serve the citizens more with what they do with snow and grass and everything else. So again, good job there. I was going to send them a case of a pallet of Busch Light, but I was told by legal I couldn't send that over. So good job to those guys over there. Also, then we were going to talk, we're in the process, Gordon and I, and we're in the process of reviewing the grading permit process. They sent over the first initial rough draft. And just so the public is aware why we're doing that is because right now the city of Sioux City is probably, I don't know any other city that doesn't allow grading before a full set of plans has to be submitted. It's starting to become, it has been an issue, it's becoming a bigger issue, and I think that this is a great process that we're going to go through to rework the grading permit process, which kind of keeps a little bit of control on our dirt guys. We know from the board, from a borrow pit standpoint, but also gives the flexibility from our developers to get them in the ground faster and more efficient, and to let the plans kind of catch up. So I saw a lot of additions that Gordon put on there that said at the engineer's opinion or disposal, and I'm going to red line his red line. But that'll be a great discussion for us on Thursday when we get together on the grading permit process. Also, on the variance, I still would like to see, I know there's some state guidelines around the variance, but I would still like to see a presentation on what is a variance in the city of Sioux City and how to apply for it. And I think it would be a great public discussion. I still would like to see.
We're bringing that up.
That's what I wanted to hear. Perfect. June 1. That's a very valuable discussion. We want to see there. Also, on the, is Matt still here? Is Salazar still here? No.
I think I saw him.
I just want to, somebody needs to ask Matt, do we carry trimmers on our equipment for?
I assume we do.
Because I think this 2026 is the year of no more grass over the edge of the curbs. So let's get our trimmers out and let's put some string in them. And so we're doing a really good job of cleanup with identifying the spaces, but.
They have trimmers.
Yeah, I mean, that was being facetious there, Mr. Mayor. That was a little facetious there on getting the trimmers out and making sure that we refocus on trimming, and especially over the curb and all that hangover. So again, just especially going into the season, it's a great reminder as we go there. And then also last but not least, I want to thank Daryl. We had a couple incidences pop up in the field, and where these are things from a development standpoint that would have probably taken a couple weeks or so. And Daryl continues to show the flexibility in getting out there and keeping guys moving. So thank you, Daryl, and keeping everybody moving, and let's have a great week.
Craig?
Just a couple things. Mike, how are we managing the increased cost for fuel? Do we forward purchase our fuel for our various departments?
We do not. Finance averages that when we go through the budget process, and we try and forward look 12 months, but it's a guess, and obviously this year we would have been wrong just based on where we're at pricing.
Do you think that we're going to have to readdress any issues?
We will have a budget add more than likely in this upcoming year. You know, the good thing is the pricing was down the first part of the year.
Right.
So we might average out fine. I can tell you in transit, we're still ahead budget-wise,
Okay.
even with the increase in.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Then a couple of other things. I think it's terrific news what Security Bank did with the naming rights to the ball field. I was able to drive by there over the weekend, and their new sign is up, and it looks absolutely great. So congratulations to the entire team to get that renamed. I'm really pleased that we were able to transition from the Mercy Field to Security National Bank, and the sign looks great.
Yeah, that was Matt.
That's great. Yeah, he did a great job. This morning, the mayor and I had a chance after we met with the Jilgen group, to go to the National Police Week ceremony. I thought they did just an absolutely marvelous job in recognizing not only those that had died in service, but really just commending them for recognition of the importance of that service. And I thought they did a really nice job. And the county attorney, James Loomis, did a really nice job speaking. So they need to be, certainly Rex and his team, and all need to be recognized for what they did. Then just very quickly, I know that over the last week, and I see Joe Tweedwell sitting in the back, Shayla's not here tonight, but I know over the last week, all of us have had a significant amount of dialogue regarding the homelessness issue, the transient population, trying to get our arms around this. And I think we're all recognizing both sides of the equation on how we manage this. I think we all recognize that change is necessary, that we need to work with our partners. It's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of courage, but I'm encouraged by the discussions that we've had that we can get that accomplished. That's it. Thank you. Mike?
Absolutely. I see Reagan is here. I just had a real quick question, Reagan. Did your new ambassador for Downtown start, or?
I was just about out the door.
Well,
Reagan
never.
Cody, Downtown Partners.
We're going to
Yeah.
never let you off that easy.
No, you won't. That's okay. I expect it and appreciate it. Last week, I know Rick mentioned the ambassador program and an update on that. We are working on the memo. We got Bill's first couple weeks under him. He started April 15th. So we do have some numbers that I've put in the memo and should have in the morning, actually. So we just got those today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Reagan, will you state your name for the,
Reagan Cody.
thank you.
Are you tracking cost when this is all said and done? Can you, I mean, are you,
He does have a contract. When it comes down to cost, I'll be working with Patrick and some other
you'll
departments
be
on
able to
how those.
capture that? So if we're
Right.
sitting here a year from now, we can either make a decision as a community
Right.
if we want to.
Yep, if we want to do this, if we want to make it bigger,
If we
we'll know
don't
what it
ask now,
costs
we
us.
won't, it'll be too late. So thank you. Just
Absolutely.
track it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reagan.
Just, last week I'd asked Mike about the property cleanup over behind the Beacons building. Thanks, Mike, for getting that taken care of. I love to see the improvements in the clean areas that are coming through that. I think sometimes our citizens don't see the work that's being done, but yet it is being done. And so we want them to know that. It was great to meet how do you say, Gilgen? Jilden delegate this morning, and then they get to see some prettiness in our community. I also want to congrats to the BCU and Morningside and St. Luke's graduates. They are getting ready to start their careers, and so got to see a lot of that this weekend, and that's it.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Scott,
Aye.
Berenstein,
Aye.
Bertrand,
Aye.
Rayford.
Aye. We did it, Bob.
I didn't.
Got